What's good, YouTube? Dorsey Made Gaming here. And today, y'all, I want to talk about the potential of having a lineman on the cover of Madden NFL football game. Yes. What do you think if a lineman graced the cover of Madden football? Now, we've seen linebackers, we've seen secondary backs, we've seen receivers, and more than anything, running backs and quarterbacks. But I've yet to see a lineman on the cover of Madden NFL football. And to me, it's kind of weird because without the lineman, you don't have football. Without the offensive lineman, the offense is nothing. And we see that time and time again in football where a bad offensive line leads to a good quarterback looking trash. And we've seen it on the defensive side where a bad defensive lineman exposes weaknesses in the secondary and in the linebacking core. So if lineman means so much, why is it that we haven't seen one on the cover of Madden? I would like to see a lineman on Madden 19. But here's the thing about the cover athletes in the game of Madden. The majority of the time, the cover athlete has something to do with a new innovation in the Madden franchise. However, maybe that's why we haven't seen linemen. I don't know. They tend to improve the offensive line and defensive line, but because a lot of people don't play on the line, you don't see a lot of people create themselves on the line. If they do, it's probably a defensive end or something to that effect. It's really interesting to see how this would work out. Now, we know in Madden 18 that they did improve some offensive line blocking and some defensive line skills, but I would like to see it go a little bit step deeper. I would like them to put a lot more emphasis on the offensive and defensive line because they are such a big importance in the game of football. Now, when you look at this year's cover, you know, well, what did the game do with Tom Brady? Long shot, of course, yes. Now, Tom Brady didn't drop out of school, leave, and go to the army and things like that. He didn't do that. But Tom Brady was a late round draft pick. Tom Brady is what you would call a long shot. It's crazy to see that now because he's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. But Tom Brady was a late round draft pick. You know, looking at his measurables and things like that, you would not have pictured in a million years that this kid would have been what he is today. A GOAT. He is. Like it or love it, that's the truth. You look back at Richard Sherman whenever he was on the cover, there were defensive improvements to the game of Madden. You look at when Odell Beckham was on the cover, there was offensive improvements to the wide receiver position. They literally put in spectacular catches, one-arm catches and things of that nature. So in order for them to put an offensive lineman on the cover, it's going to force EA to do something new and innovative on the offensive and defensive line. But let's be real, y'all. Let's be real. It is very much needed. I've had countless games where I'm live streaming and you actually see it, especially on screenplays, where the linemen are just loafing very slowly. There's guys right in front of them, yet they don't even acknowledge them or block them, to say the least. Yes, there are improvements to the offensive line and defensive line, but it's not enough. It's not enough, EA. We need more. And I know that you hear that so much, but I think that in the game of Madden, if you want simulation football, you need simulated offensive line and defensive line play. They have done a great job making improvements to the running backs, the quarterbacks, wide receivers, DBs, linebackers. I don't see enough of that same energy put into the linemen. And I think largely in part because people don't tend to pay attention to the linemen. But hey, if you're a football guy, you do because you know the importance of a good offense and defensive line. Now, what they did this year is a step in the right direction. What I'm interested in is pursuing that going forward. How would you feel if a lineman was on the cover? And should they do a dual cover with the offensive and a defensive lineman like they did with Troy Polamalu and Larry Fitzgerald? I mean, come on. Because like I said, I feel like they should improve the offensive line and defensive line even more. And show some love to the big guys, man. They need love too. You know, don't it's one of those things where why not? You know, what do you have to lose? You know, but like I said, maybe because it'll force them to actually do more improvements to the offensive line and defensive line. Like I said, and don't get me wrong, I like what they've done this year. It is a good foundation, but it's not, and I know that they know it. It's not where it needs to be. There's still room for improvements and things of that nature. And are we ever going to get a perfect game? Maybe not. Is it possible? yeah, it's possible to get pretty darn close. So it's going to be interesting to see what Madden in the future does with the Frostbite engine. Because on this year, y'all, to be real with the Frostbite, the main thing that they did with the Frostbite engine was improve the graphics and the lighting and things like that. They have not been able to really utilize as far as player models as far as how they behave on the field. They haven't gotten that far with the Frostbite yet. We will probably see more of that this year. They've even alluded to that in interviews during EA Play and things of that nature, that this year on the Frostbite it's more of getting the graphics, a foundation for the graphical standpoint, and going forward they'll do things like dynamic weather changes, and they'll work on how the players move and behave within that Frostbite engine. That's why you see a lot of animations from last year's Madden. Not to mention, a lot of the crew was helping NBA Live on their franchise mode, which is bare, just like Madden's. But hey, it is what it is. Maybe next year we will get what we want in franchise mode, but that's a different video for a different day. In the comment section down below, y'all, let me know, would you like to see a lineman on the cover of the next Madden? And if so, who? Which offensive lineman and which defensive lineman? To me, I'm thinking Joe Thomas for offensive line. He's, to me, one of the most influential guys on the offensive line in our generation that doesn't get enough attention. Maybe because he played at Cleveland. I don't know. Now I digress. Don't forget to leave a like, a thumbs up on this video, not the thumbs down. Don't forget to subscribe, y'all. And don't forget to stay tuned for more DM Gaming on the gaming channel, man. Don't forget to listen to the podcast as well. You can follow us on Twitter at DM Gaming 5. Be much appreciated. Till next time, y'all, and God bless.